Hi, it's Gordon here with another week of the Unscripted Series. And this week I'm at Ben Bonham's shop in Hood River. It's about 30 minutes from our place. We've moved some of our equipment down here. Here comes his dog Sadie to join us. So Ben actually does a few things for us. He does all of the fixtures and tools and templates in our shop, and I'm going to take you through that in a different week. But he also does a lot of work on the banjo rims, banjo necks, joining of top, back, and sides, fretboards, braces, and he's going to take you through some of that. And Ben, I see you're messing with a banjo rim over here.
Some banjo stuff here, yeah.
So why don't you show them how those go together?
So yeah, the banjo rim starts life as one of 4 different woods. This is walnut, and I've cut these into long pieces, and I use this little jig here on the table saw, and you can see that slots in there in the last cut. Cuts me lots and lots of little bits like this. They get glued up first of all like this. These edges then get straightened, and then these get glued together in pairs, like so. And then those pairs get glued up into a ring, and you can see one clamped up here. This is another walnut one.
So I think that the block rim design is the key to the tone of our bean sprout banjo ukulele. And there's just no way to get a block rim without cutting a lot of little blocks, and the key is doing it with this kind of consistency and quality.
Yeah, and it's angles and it's accuracy.
And Ben has designed all this stuff, which is simple and it's brilliant.
It's good, it's good. It's labor intensive, but it's a good result, like most things.
So one of the other things Ben does is fretboards. We've already been at Carrie's shop, and you've seen that Carrie delivers to Ben what I think of as a raw fretboard. It's been slotted, but it's not tapered, it's not bound, and it's not radiused. And you know, the radius fretboard is really one of the hallmarks of Mya-Moe. We think that it's the key to playability. For the longest time, I did the radiusing manually with, sandpaper and a block.
I remember it well.
Why don't you show them?
Yeah, what we do now. So,
what you do.
Kerry creates this for me out of ebony or maple, and then I need to do the binding on the side, the dots, the radiusing, and I start by actually getting my wife Heather to inlay the dots. This is
you drill it?
I drill it first on the drill press. I have a jig now that sets it up exactly right. Dots go in, and then binding goes on. And here's one which has had the binding glued on. Some Koa binding on here. Once that binding's had a good half a day or overnight to dry, it comes over here to this radiusing jig that it was Gordon, you told me about, I think it was Collins, and they had like 2 seconds on a video where they go past a machine.
Yeah.
What is that? I need that.
Yeah.
So I decided this is what it probably is. And I have a 12-inch radius, which is our radius, set on both ends of this, very, very accurately made, and then 2 very flat surfaces that are exactly parallel to my sander. Fingerboard is held by some little rubber bits. It's not being fixed. It comes right off. Goes down on here. And then this rocks back and forward. Makes lots of noise. All the dust goes that way. And we end up with something like this. And you can see now that we have a radius on here.
And then you just by hand
I finish it. Yeah.
Up the grits and
take it up through the grits till it's a finish that, is where we want it to be.
So then another thing that I see over here is some big pieces of mahogany. And I know that Carrie, we've already been there and we've seen that he does, what I think of the rough neck, but you take the big pieces, 14 feet long,
big pieces, yeah,
and with the big jointer.
Yeah,
right? You do
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Cut the neck blank.
Yeah. Kerry doesn't do that. He doesn't like big pieces of wood. It scares him too much.
Or the big jointer.
I love that big jointer. That's amazing.
One of the other things that Ben does, I think I've told you, Shar does all of the wood selection. So she works with our 2B owners, picks out the set of wood, they pick out the set of wood. It gets marked at our shop, at our assembly shop, and then once a week, a batch of 6 or 7 TBS sets, so top, back, and sides, come over here for Ben to join the book-matched halves.
So here is either a top or a back, some Koa. Shah has told me the number here. I know who it belongs to. This is my show side. This is going to be the outside of either the top or the back.
And you know that because she's not putting any mark on it.
And we keep that closed up so we don't damage it. And here's my little joiner, which is adapted from a centuries-old method of gluing this together. You need to be able to apply pressure together, but you also need to be able to apply pressure down. Otherwise they all move up, and you want that underside to stay really close together. And this is a neat way of doing it. One of these goes on. The black stuff is some kind of plastic that the glue doesn't stick to. And this is twill tape, and it wraps around here, hooks under there. Then you get one of these, and that slides in here. And now that's pulling together and pushing down. And it means that when I've let the glue set up for a couple of hours, this again is will be my show side. It will be sanded obviously, but I can run my fingers across here. That joint is already really flat because that was pushed down flat on my bed. This joint can be rough, doesn't matter, it's going to get sanded and thicknessed. But this allows us to keep the best book match that we possibly can.
So it's kind of interesting, like when I go through this shop, I think back to the first 2 or 3 years of Mya-Moe, and Shar and I did every one of these steps. Yeah. And most of them we did in a very more manual sort of way.
Absolutely.
Which not only was slower, but I think doesn't have the quality and the consistency that we're after. I mean, you came to us a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, do you have anything I could do?" And I'm thinking, I had no idea what you could do that would help Mya-Moe anyway. I mean, you're a nice enough guy sometimes, but
occasionally.
But then we were thinking about it, like, oh, maybe you could do this, and then you came up to the shop, and as you went through and watched us work, you saw opportunity after opportunity for ways to improve the consistency.
That carries on, and it will never end until we get rid of ourselves.
But I think you said something a little bit ago about what your aim is in terms of consistency.
Right. Yeah. Well, that we're still making everything by hand, and that's the key of doing it. But we always are going to make mistakes. We're human beings, and things go wrong. But we don't want to make mistakes that are just annoying and stupid. So when we're measuring things, I learned from my dad years ago that it's much better to make 2 marks on a piece of wood or paper that you transfer around to different things than saying, okay, it's 7 5/16, because 5/16 is gone from my brain immediately. So really all the work I do for jigging and for improving this process is centered around that, where you take a process, decide what the key element is, and then try and remove the potential for human error. You're still doing it yourself, but you're trying not to do it wrong too many times.
Yeah, there's just too many operations.
And so many things.
One mistake out of 100 doesn't sound like many, but it's actually way too many.
Yes.
So
especially on an instrument, it's got to be perfect. So.
Anyway, that gives you an idea of some of the things that Ben is doing in his shop. He does a lot more. I think I mentioned he does all of our tools, templates, fixtures. We'll go through those in our own shop at some point. But it's been great to visit you here.
Thanks for coming around to see me.
And I feel like this is like, what is that show? This Old House or something?
This Old
Anyway,
House
we'll see you next week with another edition of the Unscripted Series. Bye-bye.